I saw Big Hero 6 last night.
I don't know anything about this.
I've
heard of the title of the movie. I don't know anything about it.
It's a Disney movie.
I heard that as well. So I guess I knew something about it.
Kind of about a boy and his robot.
That sounds appealing to me.
It was good. However, it was a little long. Is it just me or are movies getting way too long?
It's weird because it seems like there's a lot of movies that come in at like an hour and 20 minutes or 2.5 hours.
Yeah, there's no like 2-hour movies anymore.
Yeah. There are. It just doesn't feel like it.
I wonder how long this movie was. I'm going to find out. I don't even know if this is podcast worthy. It's probably not. Anyway, the movie was good. It was fun. Let's see. 108 minutes. That's an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It seems long for a kid's movie.
Yeah, but then you got to take like 10 minutes off for credits.
Yeah, it was still a bit long. I could have chopped out 20 minutes of that movie. And they played like a short at the beginning too, like a Pixar short.
So that's like 15 minutes?
Yeah, it was like 10 minutes. And the short was good too, but I don't know. I want to just go to a movie and see a breezy, fun adventure.
You know what I don't like though?
What?
Is like an hour-long movie, which is rare. But like that's too short.
What's the minimum? I think it's like 80 minutes to be considered feature length.
I didn't know that there were.
I believe so.
Parameters.
And maybe that's just like to be considered for Academy Awards or whatever. But I think there are actually different regulations on it to be what your qualified are.
Well, good.
Yeah. Whoa. Wow, I was way off, bro. Feature length is classified as 40 minutes to be eligible for an Academy Award as feature length.
I remember when the Clone Wars cartoon came out, the more recent one. They released the first episode in theaters, and it was like a theatrical event.
Yeah, I saw that. That was bad.
I don't remember how long that was. But that's the kind of thing where it's like I feel like ticket prices were probably the same as what they are for a regular movie, but that's probably I don't remember how long it was. It could have been way longer than I think. You can look it up if you want.
I'm going to. No, I'm curious.
But I feel like if that was like an hour, like if it's the pilot for a new thing, I bet you it was an hour long or like something around there. That shouldn't be a full price ticket. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Speaking of Star Wars, I'm really enjoying that new.
It was 98 minutes.
Yeah,
that's
an hour and a half.
Yeah.
All right, that's a little bit better.
That movie was awful. You're enjoying the new one? What is it, Rebels?
Yes.
I saw like maybe 3 minutes of the other day, and it seemed alright.
I guess I was just kind of getting burnt out on the Clone Wars. Like, I'm done. I don't care about Dooku. I don't care about Grievous. Like, let's move on. Let's tell a new story here.
Is it just me or is Count Dooku like the worst villain of all time?
He's so dumb.
He's awful.
He's so dumb. He's so boring.
Clone Wars made him a little better than the prequels, like because at least he looked menacing in the Clone Wars.
Who?
Dooku.
He looked like an old fart with a robe on.
Yes, but he had very jagged edges.
In the cartoon, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'll give you that. Like, he was imposing, but he wasn't, like, wasn't cool. He wasn't Darth Vader or Darth Maul.
Right.
Or Darth Bane or Darth Sidious.
Menacing. That's exactly it. He just wasn't menacing.
Or Darth Malgus.
I feel like that was also lost on our generation, too. Like, I feel Christopher Lee was like a get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like getting Alec Guinness in the original one. Like,
yeah.
He is synonymous with that sort of like 70s macabre, like. So I feel like in George Lucas's dumb George Lucas brain, he was like, we got the greatest villain of all time.
Well, I felt, honestly, and maybe it's just we're too young to truly appreciate him as an actor. I felt the same way in Lord of the Rings. It's like, well, that's great. I mean, I liked having Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
He seemed cool.
Well, that's because Ian McKellen made himself relevant again.
Yeah.
Like with the X-Men movies and all that stuff.
Christopher Lee's just like, well, I'm in Lord of the Rings now.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Pass.
Yep.
I could pass on all the Lord of the Rings anyway.
I'm not saying they're great, but I'm kind of enjoying the new Hobbit movies.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought people hated them.
They may. I don't know. I'm enjoying them, but I like the Hobbit. The story of the Hobbit is, which they've totally butchered the whole thing from the books.
Yeah, wasn't it like a brisk walk through the park?
Kind of
for a book.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm enjoying them. I'm enjoying them more than the Lord of the Rings, which was like, it's like Kevin Smith said. They're just walking everywhere the whole time.
Yeah.
They had this fellowship, and then they immediately split up, and they all go on their own dumb little adventures.
I never even saw the third Lord of the Rings movie, The Return of the King. It just had zero appeal to me. Although I feel like it was my fault. I never read the books.
I didn't read the books either. I read The Hobbit. Did I read The Hobbit? No, I watched the 1970s animated Hobbit movie.
I'm sure it was the same.
It was actually pretty good, and it was concise.
People actually remember it fondly, so I don't know. I haven't seen it.
You should.
So yeah, I never read the books. I saw the second movie first. Then I went back to the first movie, and I'm like, these are all dumb. I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, none of that is video game related.
No, not a single bit.
But whatever. This is a filler episode anyway.
A little bit. So we're getting back on track.
Yeah. So welcome to Player 2 Press Start. I am killagreg. You can find me at killagreg17.
I'm Dan. You can find me at the Polygon 1.
You can find us at Player2 PLAYRTWO on Twitter.
And you can find us at player2pressstart.com.
So this week it's another episode of our Halo retrospective. Because I was on vacation and then I took a second vacation and completely forgot that we had a podcast to do, which is why it's a week short, or week late. Sorry, I'm dumb.
It's short and it's a week late.
It's short. Yeah, it's both. It's going to be both those things. So in this episode we talk about Halo ODST and Halo Reach, which, considering that those are actually my two favorite Halo games, I thought we would have had more to talk about. But
I guess
turns out not.
When there's not a lot to complain about, it sort of makes it I mean,
that's actually true. I think our best podcasts are the ones where we have like very legitimate complaints.
Yeah.
Which actually feels a little cheap.
Dead Space.
I saw the Happy Video Game Nerd do a panel once at a conference. And he made a comment about how he just like wanted to be positive about video games because it's really easy to be negative. And I always respected what he said about that. Unfortunately, I think negative things lead to better content. So
yeah, it's because we're being critical of these games and trying to figure out what's working, what doesn't, and where they could have improved. Right.
So because of that, these two Halo episodes came out a little shorter than I had hoped.
So we combined them into one.
Yes, so you're getting a two-for Halo double shot.
It's a brisk walk through the Halo universe. Speaking, this is topical. What are your thoughts on the new Master Chief collection that's coming out?
Well, I don't have an Xbox One. However, I am thinking of making very strong strides for that in the next couple weeks.
Well, that's exciting news.
That's exciting news for Dan. It went down to $350 plus Assassin's Creed. Is that the craziest deal?
Is that with or without the? Not that it matters at all, but with or without the Kinect?
No Kinect.
Okay,
which is fine. I don't want the Kinect. They completely abandoned that thing.
It is I'm sorry. It's just dumb. The only thing it's good for is scanning the little like inserts when you have a QR code, so you don't have to type in your code for something. That is literally the only thing that Kinect is good for.
Yeah. So I think this Master Chief Collection is pretty cool. It's affordable. Is it $60 for all of it?
I think so. $59, I think.
Yeah. You get 4 games, right? You can reach. We should have done. I wasn't expecting to talk about this, so I didn't really do any research.
No, it's okay. Just pull it up quick on Amazon.
Yeah.
And you get, in addition to the games that are on it, you also get access to the Halo 5 multiplayer beta.
Oh?
Which, I'll be honest with you, doesn't do a single thing for me.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'm done with. It's funny. I was actually thinking about this earlier this morning. I think after Halo 4 left such a unsavory taste in my mouth, I'm really like my expectations have really been lowered for this whole series. And, like, I'm just sort of like, Halo, you know?
Here is my hope, and this is, who knows? I feel like if 343 went really off the rails with their first Halo, people would have been super upset. So instead they played it really safe. And unfortunately,
Safe is boring.
safe is boring. People were done with that Halo. So my dream now is that Halo 5, they got this is, okay, everybody look at us, we know how to make a Halo game, now let's do something cool. I have no evidence to back that up. It is purely a figment of my imagination.
Speculation.
Yeah, I just want that to happen.
I just like Halo. I love Halo. These games, especially the story, can get very convoluted very quickly. The gameplay is always fun. Like I never have a complaint about the gameplay. It's consistent throughout the games pretty much, and it's always adequate at the very least. I kind of hope that they'll do something a little more out of the box, and perhaps a little bit more like down to brass tacks. Like make it a more basic kind of game with a more direct story, but not make it easy and not make it boring, but just make it more direct. Like Halo 4 was like, what the F was going on there? Like, you know what I mean? It was just like it was just like a boring mess.
What I want out of a Halo is bigger. I want like battles. I want things to be going on around you.
You want war, not skirmishes.
Yeah, and I recognize that skirmishes has always sort of been Halo's thing. Like that's what it is known for.
Yeah.
But you can still have a skirmish feel with a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always something that they've hinted at, and it's always something they said was going to be in the games, and it just never has been.
Yeah, I feel like that's been like talked about since like Halo 2.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be real. You know, it doesn't have to be Dynasty Warriors. You know, there doesn't have to be 1,000 people on the screen that you're actually fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But just give the illusion that, like, the Master Chief is running into battle with an army behind him.
Like, two good examples would be that Halo 3 trailer, or not trailer, but like that Halo 3 promotional commercial they had, where they were talking about that big battle, and they're showing the miniature version they made of it. Like, that would be cool. Like, if that was an actual like level in the game that you could have played, that would have been rad. Another one is like that Reach trailer I really liked, where the guy's got like the football bomb thing going on, and he's running through, and then like he takes the jetpack up.
Yeah,
you know? Like that felt like a war. That felt like a major battle, not these little skirmishes.
I'm probably going to butcher whatever this is. I want to say it might be Call of Duty 2, back when they were actually in World War II still.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of recreated that storming the beach of Normandy scene, you know, like the one from Saving Private Ryan at the beginning, where, you know, you land on the boats and then you run up and there's the wall in front of you and you're running through the trenches and you're doing all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that could work in a Halo game.
That would be
like,
a lot of fun.
Really fun. And it reminds me of the Silent Cartographer.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously that was Xbox One. There was such a tiny
limitations.
There was limitations to it. But still, you got that feel of like you're storming the beach. There's already things there. You're running up, you know, and there's that initial onslaught that you have to get through to get to the Warthog, and then the more going on. I would love more moments like that in Halo.
The other thing I want too is less scripted events. I really don't like them. It makes me feel like I have got no options and no choices. Like if I'm having a big battle, I like with those when they have those World War II games, and it's like you get from point A to point B. I often feel like it's pretty scripted. And like you'll get to a certain point, and then something will blow up. And I was like, I want that to be random, you know. Give me the guys coming at me and trying to kill me, but don't make it scripted. Just leave it open.
Right. And that's what I hope to get out of these next gen things is less scripted events and more the ability to have random events that sort of feel scripted. You know, like I don't want the same explosion to go off every time I run up a beach. Like, you know, scatter them about.
I think that's one of the, actually now that I'm thinking about it, not to get too off track, but I think that might be like scripted. Feeling like events are scripted is one of the reasons I don't love playing the missions in Grand Theft Auto, because I feel like it's not totally scripted. It's not like it's 100%. I've got no options, but I feel like everything's sort of laid out before I've even done it, and so I've like, what's the point? You know?
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
So.
Anyway, so
that's what we're looking for with the next Halo.
Yeah. So, but to actually answer your question, the Master Chief Collection, I'm pretty excited about it. However, maybe I shouldn't be. The only thing in it that genuinely appeals to me is the Halo 2 anniversary, which is where they gave it the same as the Halo 1 Anniversary Edition update. And prettier graphics, redone. You can switch back and forth between the old game and the new game, which I always love. They redid all the cutscenes. That's all really cool. However, so it's just the 4 games plus the Nightfall demo. Or not, plus Halo Nightfall, the digital series, and then the Halo 5 demo. They're not doing anything for Halo 3 and 4, I don't think, other than maybe up-resing the game a little bit.
So what games is it? Halo 1, 2,
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
No ODST, no Reach.
I mean, I guess that's... they called it the Master Chief Collection, so that's fine.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But I would have rather had them go back and...
I would rather them put all 6 in there.
Yeah, or and just put it on 2 discs or something. Because I think it's... Didn't they say they tried to cram it all on 1 disc?
They do.
I might not be correct in that.
No, I think it is on 1 disc.
But I'd rather have them go do something for ODST than... Or do anything for ODST than focus on Halo 4.
Again.
Yeah.
It just came out. I never want to play that game again.
Completely unnecessary.
I don't know. So, I wouldn't mind playing Halo 3 again. I'm excited for Halo 2. We just played the Collector's Edition of Halo 1, so I don't really need that.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to play 4 again.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know if I'm excited for this. This strikes me as a wait till it's $30 thing, so I can pretty much pay what I want to pay for the Halo 2 again.
I hate to say it because I was excited when they first announced it. I'm always excited for anything Halo that they announce, and then after I start thinking about it more and more, I'm like, meh. But I was actually thinking this morning, mostly because I expected you weren't going to be getting an Xbox One anytime soon, and so I'd be on my own for this. But I really was like, man, I'll just wait till this goes on, gets the price reduced.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to wait for it. But one feature it does have that I heard was really cool is they sort of will remix the game for you, depending on what you want. So this is not the best example, but it's the only one that's coming to my mind. You can do it so that you only play the Arbiter levels, and it will take all the Arbiter levels from all the games, and it'll play them for you, just the Arbiter levels. Or if
That's
you
cool.
just want to do, the ones that are on Covenant ships, it'll do that for you. Or it can be they'll basically you can pick a theme you want, or they have pre-suggested ones, and they will remix all 4 games into one game for you to play. Which is just it's something you like.
Yeah, it's a neat feature.
It is a neat feature. So I appreciate stuff like that, but it doesn't make me excited.
So here's one last sort of complaint about Halo that for something that they haven't done, which I think is a total missed opportunity, is where's our flight game?
Yeah.
Where's our space simulator? I mean that one level in Reach was super fun, and the mechanics worked perfectly fine. It was a ton of fun. That is a total missed opportunity. And I don't know if it's they're scared to water down their brand by pushing it into
made Halo Wars.
multiple genres. But yeah, but that was kind of meh. That was a flash in the pan. I mean, that wasn't.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they're willing to do it, and that was around the same time as when they were working on Reach and stuff.
And they did that stupid was it Spartan Assault or whatever it was, that mobile game?
Yeah, I didn't
Spartan
play
something.
that.
I didn't play it either.
Yeah, I don't know much about that.
But I feel like it's a real missed opportunity.
That'd be really cool.
It would be.
They need more flight simulators in general. They need more space flight simulators,
Like Rogue Squadron type stuff.
Rogue Squadron or Wing Commander or TIE Fighter. Didn't they just remake TIE Fighter?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. But yeah, where that genre's gone. Star Fox.
I feel like Battlefront were some of the last ones to have it because that was pretty big on some of those levels, and it was fun.
Yeah.
I loved Battlefront.
Yeah,
They've really butchered the Star Wars game series over the last couple of years. Nothing good has come out, really. The early 2000s to mid 2000s was the golden era for Star Wars games and flight games from Star Wars, but it's been a real letdown since then. Anyway, that's getting off track.
Yeah, that's a topic for another week.
Yep.
So this is if you haven't been paying attention or listening to the past ones, this is an excerpt from an original podcast Dan and I did a few months ago. It was our first attempt at what turned into Player 2 Press Start. So it's a little rough around the edges. Please excuse that. Next week, and that is a week from this Monday right now that you're listening to this went up the 11th, so we're talking the 17th. Dan and I are doing Atypical Fighting Games, something we've been pimping for about a month now, and I'm sorry it's not been out yet.
Do you want to just briefly mention maybe some of the titles that we're talking about?
So we're talking about Smash Brothers, the Nintendo 64 version. There's new Smash Brothers coming out, but it's not out yet, so we didn't get a chance to play it. A game called Air Guys, which we played about 4 seconds of. Bushido Blade.
Which we played about like 4 hours of.
Yeah, we had a lot of Bushido Blade. Def Jam Fight for New York. There's another one that I'm missing. What was it?
Oh, the PlayStation one.
Oh, and PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Mm.
And then I think we might also talk briefly about a game called Nidhogg and possibly WCW NWO Revenge. We'll see about those, though.
And then following up after that episode, just a real brief plug, is we're going to be looking at some older Star Wars games.
Yeah, which is why we're not going to.
We're not going to get too much into. But like, so we're looking at episode 1 Racer, podcast 1 or the
Pod Racing for the Nintendo 64, right? That game's so good.
Crap, what else do we have? Oh my gosh,
Jedi Power Battles.
Yes.
Masters of Terras Kasi.
Yes.
I
feel like there's no. And then that Demolition one, that one that was a Twisted Metal ripoff.
And are we doing the Lego Star Wars games? I don't know if we decided on that yet.
I don't have any of them.
I have 2 of them.
Okay, we might.
We might do that too. So there's some stuff to look forward to, and then after that, I think we're going to be doing something a little different for a while, right? Is that when we're going?
We might be starting to wade into our Mass Effect episodes, which we'll be doing with Alex Krasny of AgreeOrDie.com.
Yeah.
So. But that's it's on the schedule.
That's a little up in the air though. So
yep.
I really want to play them again. I've been playing Mass Effect again.
Yeah.
Real good, dude.
It's a good game.
Rough. The game is really rough around the edges, but boy is it good.
I would be very interested in playing a remastered edition of that.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that another time.
Yep.
This short intro turned into 20 minutes.
Well, good, because our podcast was short.
Yeah, all right. So here it is. Halo, ODST, and Halo Reach. I am killagreg. You can find me at killagreg17.
I'm Dan. You can find me at the Polygon1.
And you can find our stuff at player2pressstart.com. Enjoy.
So last episode we talked about Halo 1, 2, and 3. And our general assessment was that the story was very confusing. The games are very enjoyable. Halo 3 probably the least out of the whole bunch. But multiplayer was pretty darn good.
Halo 3 multiplayer was great.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as 2's, but it was good.
And Halo 1 is a classic.
Yeah, but it's different.
Weird.
Halo 1, out of the entire Halo series, Halo 1 is the anomaly.
It is pretty odd. So this week, we're going to be talking about Halo... Is it just Halo ODST or Halo 3 ODST?
I believe it is Halo 3 ODST.
Okay. We're talking about ODST. We will be talking about Halo Reach, Halo 4, and we'll be touching on Halo Wars just a little bit.
Briefly, because we didn't play it that much.
We played it enough to be able to talk about this, but we didn't refresh for the podcast. ODST.
Originally, Halo 3 Recon, which was pretty interesting. It started out as DLC, and then it got a little out of control, so they said, all right, let's just sell this. Let's sell this as a standalone game. And I think it worked. So, ODST came out with the Halo 3 multiplayer, all the Halo 3 maps, and I believe it was the first instance of Firefight. Is that correct?
You might be right. I think you might be right.
If it's not, we'll edit it out. And we won't. We'll just look stupid.
We won't.
We won't, I'll just look stupid.
Yeah, we'll just feel bad for not being up on our facts and saying things like they are facts.
But as far as ODST goes, realistically, there's not that much to talk about co-op wise.
I do not agree.
All right, hit me with why you don't agree.
I think the experience, single player versus co-op, is distinctly different from some of the other games. Specifically, I'm referring to the open map that you have, which leads kind of essentially from level to level. When you are by yourself in the city, especially if you're playing on anything that's a difficulty that's a little bit higher up, there's really a sense of you're on your own. You're really truly on your own. There's nobody else in the city. You don't get backup, and the place is filled with bad guys. And it's nighttime. It's hard to see. I felt it never feels as worrisome when you've got somebody with you. Whereas, like in Halo 1 or 2, I don't tend to get that feeling because oftentimes you got backup of some sort. And even if you don't, it's still that sense of urgency and like. Kind of not being scared, but like it's not like a survival horror or anything like that. But I feel like when you have somebody with you in this one, it's not nearly as stressful.
And this is a stretch, but in a very Halo sense, it sort of is their version of a survival horror game.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, the odds are sort of stacked against you. The weapons tend to not be quite as good in this game.
At least I would say in the map parts. In the regular level,
Right.
you usually got a bunch of backup.
You're a Halo version of a regular dude. Like, you're an ODST, you're just a well-trained soldier. You're not a Spartan, so your health, like, you can't take quite as much punishment. You can't jump as high. You can't, well, nobody runs
You're
fast
weak
in Halo.
by comparison.
You're weak, that's right. So, while you're still empowered or whatever, it plays more like a Call of Duty than a Halo. But as far as the co-op experience goes, I feel like co-op sort of ruined it. Do you disagree?
The nighttime map part,
Yeah.
I would say it kind of does. But the regular levels, I think it's fine for those because those are kind of a very typical Halo experience.
Right.
To me, it doesn't feel really much different than Halo 2 or 3.
I can't imagine people haven't played ODST, but just to break it down a little bit, ODST is a side story for Halo 3. At the beginning of Halo 3, right? The city. When does ODST take place?
Wait, is it a side mission for 2 or 3? Because doesn't it take place in New Mombasa?
It does, but I think it's right after the Master Chief left.
Okay.
So halfway through, maybe it is 2. Yeah. So halfway through 2, the Master Chief leaves New Mombasa, and the city's sort of left in like disarray. So in ODST, it takes place during simultaneous with the events of Halo 2. In Halo 2, the Master Chief is in New Mombasa. He jumps on a Covenant ship. The ship goes into slip space and sort of wrecks part of the city, which leaves you and your crew sort of disbanded. Scattered throughout the city. And you play one ODST who lands at night in New Mombasa, and he goes from location to location sort of finding the rest of his squad.
Wasn't he, like, out of it?
You mean like kind of like his head was messed up a little bit?
Yeah, and like so he sort of like comes to, and then everything's gone to hell.
Like they drop down during the daytime. He gets knocked out. When he comes to, it's several hours later. So a lot of stuff has happened while he was knocked out, and he has to go piece together what happened. So gameplay-wise, you traverse this relatively open world in Halo, going from spot to spot. And finding
it's like a big open city map,
right? Exactly.
And you go from block to block and area to area, sort of kind of piecing together the puzzle pieces of your comrades. And you'll like, for example, you'll get to an area and there'll be a clue of some sort, whether it's like a bent sniper rifle or a shattered helmet or something like that, and then that will trigger the flashback to what that person actually went through, which led to that event.
And then you'll play as that person.
Right.
And those parts, the flashbacks, are pretty typical Halo fare.
Yep.
It's really just those like city investigation parts that are unique to the series.
They're very noir.
Yes.
The music is kind of like it's like quiet, sort of jazzy music. Oftentimes, like when you're going in the areas where there aren't a lot of people,
Right.
And you're very much on your own. It's dark. It's mysterious.
And the city, is it raining during those parts, or the city has a very wet feel to it, which is a noir trope. Like, if you ever watch an old classic noir, or even like a modern noir movie, you'll notice that things always look wet. And part of that is just because filmmakers like things looking wet. But it's also like it always looks like it has rained or is raining or just rained or whatever.
It gives it like a bigger sense of atmosphere.
Right.
Like
this entire
density
game
to the
feels
scene.
wet to me. Like you just get a very wet, cold, lonely feel to it.
Kind of like in Blade Runner a little bit.
Yes. I mean, it's
always
everything's
raining
wet
in that movie.
Everything's wet in Blade Runner. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
But because this game makes you feel so solitary, makes you feel so alone, that's why I think it is such a poor co-op game. Because I very distinctly remember loving this game.
Me too.
When I played it alone.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have now tried
twice
to play a co-op,
2 or 3 times.
and I would say after an hour, we're both like, this is really boring. This is not something we want to do anymore.
Yeah. It's a very personal adventure. And to do it with somebody else just comes across as kind of a mediocre Halo game.
That's exactly it. So, as far as co-op goes, I say if you're going to play ODST, play it alone.
Yeah.
Don't try to do it with co-op.
Or if you're going to try, and here's another thing. I would find that if we didn't stick together, we very quickly got separated.
Yeah, no, and we could
and
not
navigating
find
the
each other
map
at all.
was. The map is fine when you're by yourself on your own. I didn't have as much trouble, but like it's hard to tell like where's an area that you can walk through and where isn't. It's not like going on like Google Street View or Google Maps or something. You know, it's like there's like big walls and buildings and things you can't get through.
And it's a weird like holographic map.
Yeah,
and it's just like it's
kind of 3D, but
it's hard to tell where you are in space.
Yeah.
I would also just like to say this is just sort of a throwaway side point. Throughout the game, this is very minor spoilers. The city sort of directs you as to where to go, like very subtly. Like if you don't realize what's happening, you just think it's like regular atmosphere stuff. But like the city itself will put up like barriers, like, and if you're not paying attention, it'll just be like, oh, a police barrier or something, or it'll set off alarms, or it'll turn on a light to show you where to go or whatever. And you eventually realize that there is like actually something actively working to send you in the right direction. But it's so subtle and unique, and I've never experienced anything else like that in a video game. And it's a really cool experience.
Is that supposed to be the AI that's helping you?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I ever picked up on that when I was playing.
It's really cool. Like, if you play it again, pay attention to like the things that are standing out, and you'll notice that they're actually forming a line and sort of directing you like where to go throughout the stuff.
Interesting.
It is. It's really cool. And the other thing, and this is sort of weird, there's like an infrared in the game.
Yeah, the visor mode.
And it's almost crucial because the game is so dark.
Yeah.
That you just can't see anything without it.
It puts almost like a cell shading kind of outline around enemies. I don't know if cell shading is the right word, but kind of what it reminds me of.
It makes it feel like that. It almost makes it feel like a
cartoony sort of like comic book where it's got like the hard outline around all the edges, and enemies they stand out much more. But the funny thing is like some areas or some levels, especially when you transition from like those dark map areas to starting one of these flashback scenes, it's usually much brighter in the flashback scenes in daytime and like normal kind of atmosphere. And so if you turn on that visor mode, it's like you're almost blinded. So it's really only helpful, and it's kind of like in place of a flashlight. But it's also kind of, it keeps your stealth in a sense. Because if you're running around with a flashlight, you're obviously going to stand out. And, I give them credit for using it and implementing it. I think it works really well.
Although I've never seen an enemy like react to a flashlight in Halo.
No, but they should.
They should, but they don't. Combat evolved. I feel like Firefight we should probably talk more about in Reach.
Okay.
Was there anything, just because I played it more in Reach, like it was sort of a thing that was thrown in here, but I didn't get any real experience with it until Reach. We talked about Halo 3 multiplayer, so we didn't really have to do that. ODST was $40 when it came out. I say that's sort of worth it.
So the terminals in this are a little different than in the other games. generally speaking, the terminals in all of the other games are they're a forerunner artifact of some sort, or like it kind of leads to the story between the didact and the librarian, things like that. It reveals kind of like the inner, deeper story going on. In ODST, it's completely different, and you get kind of this motion comic kind of thing. I don't even know if it's a motion comic. It's more like still imagery that goes with an audio. Yeah, and it basically they all piece together to track how I think this young girl's trying to get out of the city when this is all happening, all the events of the city getting destroyed and the Covenant invading, and I appreciated the effort, but I didn't really enjoy the execution, and they were really difficult to find.
I would say overall this is my least favorite of all the terminals.
Yeah.
When I find a terminal, I want it to give me like deep lore.
Yeah.
Not a side
Not like a
story.
dumb side story.
Yeah.
And the thing is in ODST, you will find some of these by using the most minor video game logic, you will just find them accidentally. But then what inevitably ended up happening is I was focusing on the game, not finding these. I would find some every now and then, and I would have bits of the story, but it wouldn't be enough. But without all of them, you don't really know what's happening or what's going on. And somebody, fortunately, on YouTube was nice enough to piece all of it together so you can listen to it now. But in-game, it's kind of frustrating. Because with the other terminals, you can they give different pieces of the story, and you can kind of get away with missing some of them, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true or not. I legitimately could be making this up. I feel like there are significantly more of these in ODST.
It seemed like there's a lot, like 20.
Like 20.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas most Halos, there's like one a level.
There's like 7 in a game.
It's like if you're in a level and you haven't found it yet, find the terminal. If you have, you don't have to look for another one.
Yeah.
Since this is an open world game, they're everywhere and there's a million of them.
Yeah.
So it's harder to find. Although I do like the way they are presented to you. Whereas in Halo 3, there is a hidden terminal. You press the terminal, it gives a story. This one will be like off in the distance. Will be like a phone ringing,
yeah,
or like an ATM machine going off or something.
Yeah, I think it's the phone booths.
But
do they have?
I remember one being like a photo booth or something.
Okay,
maybe it was just a phone booth in a different way or something. But either way, I like that. I like again that it's the city. It's the city AI trying to tell you things, and that's a fun premise.
Mm-hmm.
Anything left to say about ODST?
My general sort of conclusion with ODST is it's a very unique Halo experience. The story is, I think, interesting in that you're playing this one guy separated and then trying to piece things together. But there's all these multiple different stories that kind of converge. It's almost more of a novel than the other games. It's like a video game novel.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere, they really hit the nail on the head with the atmosphere of the game paired with the music. It really is very kind of dark and mysterious.
I would say if I had to rank, we should do this at the end, but if I had to rank Halo games, this would probably be my second favorite one. Which is kind of a shock, but at least from a very personal level, and as long as this goes, you might notice this. I like small personal stories in my video games, and this one is just perfect for that. It's the shortest of all the Halos, I think. Well, except for 4. It's the shortest of all the real Halos, and it tells one normal guy's story. I like games that are really lonely, and this one is extremely lonely. It's kind of like they made a Halo game for me. All the other Halo games I like, but they weren't for me. This is the only Halo game that I just felt like was made for me.
Also, I have now. This is just total speculation. I feel like generally in the Halo community, this game is a bit of an underdog and not appreciated, and that makes me like it even more.
People forget it all the time.
Okay. Because I feel like it gets no attention. Nobody likes it. Nobody cares about it. But I think it's sad because I think it's one of the best ones and most creative.
I agree.
If not one of the best, at least the most creative.
At least the most creative. I like the nonlinear storytelling.
Yeah, it's fun.
Halo Reach.
Halo Reach.
We finally get to the big one.
The big one.
So Halo Reach, this is the last game made by
Bungie.
And I find it very interesting that this one doesn't star the Master Chief.
Yeah.
And it's also the best Halo game.
Yeah.
Do you think that plays a part in why it's so good, or do you think it's good independent of that?
I think it does because you've got more characters, and the characters. This will sound ridiculous. The characters have character.
Yeah.
Like you've got Emil, who's got the cool skull thing scratched into his faceplate. You've got the woman with the bionic arm. Like you've got George, who just is this huge guy in this funny armor. Like everybody stands out. They're all distinct.
Right.
In the previous games, it was like the Chief. It was mainly like the Chief, Johnson, maybe depending on which game you're in, Guilty Spark, and Cortana.
That's it.
I mean, there was some other supplemental characters, but like that seemed to be the bulk of the people that were consistently in the game. And you don't in game you don't ever really see the Master Chief. You only see him during cutscenes.
Right.
So it's kind of an impersonal series.
It's very impersonal.
But in this one, it reminded me a lot of Star Wars Republic Commando.
I have not played that.
Which was an Xbox One game, and you were in a squad of Republic Commandos who were like elite clone troopers. And it's very similar in that you're in a squad with guys, and they're all distinct for different reasons, and you play the whole game with them, and you sort of build this kind of like interesting sense of loyalty, and you're concerned about them, and you want to know where they end up. And the other Halo games don't have that, but this one does. So I think that sense of drawing you into the characters more and the kind of the world and drawing you in, this one is more successful at that. Also, the character that you play as is essentially a blank slate who barely says anything. So I think you can sort of project yourself onto him a little bit better.
Does he say anything?
He has a few lines here and there, but it's pretty minimal. Whereas the Master Chief, it's like he's sort of an established guy. He's like an ultra hero, and you can't really put yourself on him and get in his shoes. But I feel like a little bit more you can with Noble Six, I think, is your character in this.
Noble Six.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you remembered that. You remembered a whole bunch of that I didn't even remember.
Okay, good. So Halo Reach, just to set it up a little bit, it's a prequel to Halo 1, and it takes place on the planet Reach, where basically the humans have a colony there, and you play in a squad of Spartan 3s who are a generation of Spartan after the Master Chief, who was a Spartan 2. And we'll get into that as a nitpick in a little while.
Spartan 3s are supposed to be more disposable, right?
They are. They're supposed to have armor that's not quite as advanced, I think. And if I recall, it's supposed to offer them some invisibility. And these are essentially, I mean, with the way they look, the way they act, and the armor, they essentially feel exactly like Spartan 2s. And that's not really what they intended.
Well,
in the canon story kind of novels, that kind of stuff.
Can we get spoilery in this?
If you want.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Although, honestly, at this point...
Yeah. Game's been out for years.
Come on. Yes, they feel like playing like the Master Chief, realistically. But at the end of this movie, they're all dead. And the Master Chief, is invincible. So, within theory, they certainly were more expendable and a little more breakable.
Yeah, but in the novels, and I know that's kind of getting far afield from the video games, but in the novels, some of the Spartans do die, and they get hurt and damaged, and it happens. The Master Chief is known for being extraordinarily lucky, which is one reason why he was chosen for the program.
That's so funny. They bring that up a lot in Halo 3, don't they? Is it 3 or 4?
Do they?
Where they're you know why I picked you? Because you were lucky.
That sounds like Halo 4.
That does sound like Halo. If it's bullshit, it sounds like Halo 4. Oh, I didn't mean to say bullshit.
He's not going to edit that, though.
I'm going to edit it.
He says he will. So it's a prequel, and the game is sort of it kind of eases you into things, especially the first level where you get some reports of something going on, and find
it's borderline pleasant.
The first level,
yeah. This is going to sound ridiculous, but it feels like an early morning.
Yeah, it feels a little like it's maybe like It's like 45 degrees outside.
Yes, exactly. It's like a nice
little-
spring day. There's a little dew on the ground.
It's a little clammy still because it's early, but it's going to be a nice day. And you get out and oops, there's some Covenant there. Oops, they're invading.
Oh, geez.
So you sort of ease into the fighting, and there's just very small skirmishes and nothing big. And over the course of the game, it ramps up as the Covenant invasion begins full scale.
Going back to last week, this is a really sad game.
Yeah.
All of these games are so sad. It's just you and all your friends dying.
Actually, there is the one guy that survives.
Out of how many?
6?
6. 1 out of 6.
Well, George. Okay, this is getting besides the fact, but when you look at the bigger picture of what's going on in this invasion happening, George did not need to sacrifice himself to kill that ship because there was like 100 other ones.
He's such a silly Billy.
I mean, keeping him alive, I feel like his military worth is probably the amount of destruction he could have done elsewhere if they didn't destroy that ship. Like, very, very short-sighted.
I don't even remember that. I remember him dying.
Because they had to, like, set the bomb manually or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They always do. Maybe we could make one bomb that works. Just one, guys. That's all I'm asking.
So no Master Chief.
No Master Chief. Good thing. I say good thing. Master Chief is cool, but I feel like he would be better served as, like, a badass dude that you sometimes play with rather than a badass dude you play as. That's my own personal opinion.
I can see that.
Like, if you were just playing as a pretty good Spartan, and every now and then this super soldier showed up and was just totally rad with you, like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like, imagine playing, was it Delta Halo from Halo 2? Was the first one with the ODST?
Yeah.
Imagine playing that level as the ODST.
Yeah. And then, like, you know, you're fighting with the Master Chief for the first time.
And he's just kicking
totally,
ass and taking names
exactly.
and chewing bubblegum.
Like, that'd be really rad. And then maybe one game out of the series you play as a Master Chief, or maybe, like, the last level of Halo 3 or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I finally... 3 games in, they've been showing me this cool dude every now and then, and now I get to be him? What?
Yeah.
My mind is blown.
Yeah.
Here's how we fix the Halos. A game series that we love.
So, overall, my opinion of this game is that it is a very well-balanced game.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It has an interesting story that's tied in with the material pretty well. It has great gameplay. Like it's just I don't know how else to describe it, but balanced. Like there's skirmishes and there's big battles and there's vehicles and there's varied landscapes and you're just
and it just sort of takes the best things out of each of the Halos, the previous Halos.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really great night level, just like Halo 1.
Yep.
They have a really great Warthog level. They have, you know, a good levels that sort of feel like the Silent Cartographer. They're not exact, but like you're in a thing going from thing to thing and pressing buttons, which is the best way to describe Halo. You're in a thing going from thing to thing pressing buttons. But then every now and then they'll just add something new, like that you've never done before.
Like, for example, when you're in that gunship,
exactly,
and you have like a missile launcher thing on the gunship, and I guess it's a Pelican that's kind of souped up.
Yeah, it's like a Pelican with grenade launchers.
Yeah, and you're just like going to town, and I mean that's an easy part of the game. But it's fun.
But it's really fun, and it's also the first time you get to see a war happening. Really.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun, and that's something you don't do in any of the other games.
And here's another thing: is the space battle.
The longsword battle.
That is super fun. First of all, the longswords are awesome.
They are.
And you haven't really seen much with them except the end of Halo 1 when you escape in one.
Right. That's great. And that's completely unique to Reach, and it's perfectly done. It reminded me of playing Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
Which was a game that is criminally underlooked.
Yeah.
Although I never played the second and third one. People say they're great.
As games, they're fine, but they don't capture that same feel as the first one.
There's something about Rogue Squadron 1 that's just exceptional.
Yeah. I can't put my finger on it.
I can't either. I also haven't played it in, forever. We should break that out.
We should.
I
have it. And I have a Super Nintendo.
Do you?
Yeah. I have the game in my other room.
We should do that. So that longsword battle just sort of personifies everything that's great about Reach. It's something completely unique and something that's done very, very well.
And it's very different from what you're normally doing. Like, even if you're in a flying vehicle, like the Banshees or the Hornets, I think.
Yeah, the Hornets.
They don't fly the way these things fly. The Banshee's probably the closest thing, but that just doesn't feel the same. But so this feels like something a little bit out of their element, but they nailed it.
Right.
Like the flight controls are perfect. If anything, the ships could fly a little faster, but that's really my only complaint.
Yeah, that's like real nitpicky.
But it was so well done, and like I've said this to Greg many times. I really think that there's been enough time has passed now where I think maybe this theory is not going to hold up, but they tossed in this one space battle, and I kind of wonder if it was a testing ground to see if people would respond favorably to it in the event that they might do a Halo flight game down the road.
I can't believe they haven't.
Kind of in the same vein as the way they had that Hoth battle in Shadows of the Empire for the Super Nintendo, which ultimately led to Rogue Squadron.
And several thousand other video games with the Hoth level.
Yeah, but I mean that was a first-person shooter, but in this one level, you've got a third-person flight level, which is very out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I don't think they do any other flight stuff in Shadows of the Empire, do they?
Mm-mm.
Weird.
But everybody responded really favorably to it, and I'm pretty confident that's what led to Rogue Squadron being produced.
I think it is.
Yeah.
We should look into that. So going back to Halo, I played the ass off of this game.
Yeah, we did.
And I guess I wasn't even thinking about talking this, but we made 2 like Canadian friends on Halo Reach.
Oh, that's right. On the multiplayer.
Yeah.
I forgot about them.
I'm
not friends with them anymore.
No, me neither. I'm not even Xbox friends with them.
Yeah.
But we played Halo with them every day for months.
Yeah. Which is bizarre when you really think about it.
Which is bizarre. Like, to the point where, like, I was getting friendly with these dudes.
Yeah. I don't even remember how we hooked up with them in the first place.
You just played with them one day, the multiplayer, straight multiplayer.
Yeah.
And then I think you were just talking to them or whatever, and they brought you into the campaign to go, like, do some challenges or something.
Oh, yeah. I think they, like, helped me get a couple of things.
Yes.
And it sort of snowballed.
And that's exactly it. It snowballed. And then, like, I jumped on later in the day, and you were like, oh, I met these 2 guys. They showed me all this stuff. We should play with them. I was like, okay. So the 4 of us played Halo Reach every day. And Halo Reach introduced something called challenges. There were daily challenges, weekly challenges. Was there a monthly challenge?
I don't know.
There were daily challenges and weekly challenges for sure. And basically, if you completed a challenge, you got credits. With the credits, you could buy armor modifications, which served very little actual purpose.
They're totally aesthetic.
Looking cool.
Yeah.
And customizing your character, which was they did it in Halo 3, but very poorly. There was like 5 armors to choose from.
Yeah.
In this, you could customize your helmet, your chest plate, your knee pads,
everything.
All that stuff. Everything.
All the components.
So, like, 2 dudes really never looked the same.
Yeah.
Introductory.
There's variations, but
by the end of it. Anyway, but those challenges were cross. What's the word I'm looking for?
It was
game types. Cross game types.
Yeah, you could do it in the single player,
so
in the campaign, and in the multi,
exactly.
right?
So it was like, get 200 headshots. It didn't matter how you got those headshots. You could get those headshots in campaign.
Unless it specifically indicated it.
Right. You can get it in campaign. You could get it in firefight. You could get it in multiplayer. And what that enabled co-op-wise was people were doing other things than just multiplayer, cooperative with a purpose. It wasn't like, oh, you just want to go beat the game? Sure, whatever. It was like, okay, we have to kill 15 things with the Banshee. Where can we do that?
Mm-hmm.
So you would jump in with a friend and go and pick a campaign level, and it's like, okay, we have to do this on Legendary. Well, I definitely can't do that alone. You had to go find somebody to do this stuff with.
Yeah.
And it gave a lot of co-op replayability through stuff that you wouldn't have played co-op, really, like more than once, like the campaign and stuff. And I thought that was a really unique addition. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the actual multiplayer of Reach?
Sure.
The 2 main additions, from what I could tell, were the armor customization, which I loved. Would you agree?
Yeah, it definitely drew us in, especially early on.
Oh, yeah. Like, just that, playing that little extra bit to get like a custom helmet you wanted or
Yeah,
whatever.
or getting like a silver visor.
Yeah.
A gold visor. Like
Yeah, there was a solar flare visor that I just am totally in love with.
yeah.
And Dan also came up with the greatest armor, the greatest armor set of all time. Can we talk about it? I don't know. We can't offend anybody with it, right?
The dolphin penis helmet?
Yeah, the dolphin penis helmet. There was this one helmet,
It was supposed to be like the police officer helmet version of one of these ODST, or
which is
not
already
ODST,
lame. Like if you're
Spartan
an ODST
helmets.
and you get relegated
Spartans.
to
Yeah.
police duty,
Yeah.
then you're the worst. You deserve the penis head.
Yeah. It just looks dumb. And then to add insult to injury, I made my character teal with pink accents.
There's like two extremes to customizing your Halo armor. Like
Super serious.
super serious, like you try to be like, oh my god, I'm such
Like it's like when you're driving around and you're trying to be hard like Vin Diesel.
I'm so bad.
Yeah.
I'm so bad. I'm
Yeah.
gonna drive this
One hand.
Warthog.
It's like you can drive your armor around like you've got one hand on the steering wheel, or you can drive it around like you're listening to the Spice Girls.
Yeah, both hands on the wheels.
Yeah.
just screaming at the top of your lungs, windows down.
10 and 2.
And that's the dolphin penis.
Yep.
So yeah, you can do it just normal, or you can make it as garish as possible.
That's what I did.
And we sort of alternated between the two.
Yeah.
Like at first we were like, we're gonna take this totally serial, and then by the end it was like I dressed like a bumblebee, and
Dan was the Easter egg dolphin penis.
That's right. It was we're idiots.
Yeah, basically.
And the other addition was the power-ups, or the armor bonuses, I guess. Which,
Like the jetpack.
yeah, which were a few. There was the jetpack, which lets you fly short distances. The armor lock, which made you impervious to damage, and you would stop vehicles, which is cool. The invisibility, which was pretty useless, I would say, because it scrambled your radar and everybody else's radar.
Yeah. So
Which
you always knew when somebody was invisible.
And that's
around
exactly
you.
it. It's like, and you, as the invisible person, couldn't tell where other people were.
Yeah.
There was the sprint, and I feel like we're missing one. Oh, the decoy,
Which is the dumbest thing in the history
which
of the
is
world.
the dumbest thing.
It's funny when you fall for it, but like 99% of the time, it's useless.
Yeah, and every now and then you could really get somebody. Like if you're hiding behind a rock or something, and you just shoot that thing out, and then you see that one sniper bullet hit your hologram.
Yeah. And then you get that person. Like it feels so good.
It feels so good,
but
but that never happens.
yeah, you're not gonna succeed at Halo Reach by doing that.
Isn't there one more?
I don't know. That sounds like the bulk of it.
If it is, it's dumb, and nobody cares. So, did we just give our opinions on each one? No. Go ahead. Give your opinion on all of them. The idea of them.
In general, I do not like the idea of the power-ups because I always feel like I never have the power-up I want when I need it. And I feel like it kind of overcomplicated what was a relatively straightforward game, but had additions to it, like compared to like earlier generations of first-person shooters, you've got jumping and grenades and different types of grenades, and maybe dual wielding depending on what game you're playing. It's like it was a relatively straightforward game with some extra additions, and I feel like every time they come out with a game, they have to add something else to it just to make it new, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Like the dual wielding was definitely an example of that. Like, oh, we got to kick this up a notch. Let's let them carry 2 guns instead of 1. And I feel like the power-ups are in the same vein.
I feel like, this is very slight aside, I feel like Battlefield does the idea of new but unchanged pretty well.
Yeah.
Very rarely am I like, oh man, this was so much better in Battlefield 3.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a new gadget, but the fundamental changes to gameplay are almost non-existent. There's no like game breaker, and there's nothing that makes the whole game feel different.
Yeah.
The power-ups in Halo Reach, they were a game changer. All of a sudden, every level was not just a horizontal level anymore; it was a vertical level with the jetpacks. Big levels were smaller because you could sprint now. And there was just, if you were smart, armor lock made roadkill non-existent.
If you melee an armor locked person, do you get hurt?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I've never
I might
seen
just
it
be
happen,
thinking of the
honestly.
vehicles getting destroyed, which, by the way, pisses me off to no end.
No, I love it.
I hate it.
So with those things being said, I think the power-ups were a huge addition. I thought they made almost every level more fun and better. Specifically, as I was just saying, the sprint, the jetpack, and the armor lock, and very specifically the jetpack and armor lock. Sprint was nice to have, but not overly useful.
It didn't usually help you win a game. It was convenient.
It was that's exactly it. It was convenient, which to me says sprint shouldn't be a power up, considering you want to use it all the time.
Yeah.
You could just do one of two things: always let people sprint, which they add in Halo 4, or just make the game faster.
Yeah.
By the time Reach came out, the whole muddy Spartan thing is infuriating.
A little bit.
Like, you just want to move faster.
Especially if you've been playing other games like Battlefield. I feel like
Right.
you're more nimble in Battlefield, generally.
Here's what you're going to see in a typical game of Halo. If you have to run from one point to another, you're going to see 4 dudes hopping around like idiots. Because deep down in their brains, they feel like jumping is faster than running.
No, I don't think it's that they think jumping is faster than running. It may be in some cases. It's much harder to shoot somebody when they're jumping because it's harder to lead with the bullet.
Well, I'm not talking multiplayer. Like,
Oh.
I hop all over the place.
Oh yeah.
In multiplayer.
No, I hop everywhere.
I'm just
in
talking
single player.
I'm just talking in campaign.
Oh yeah, no, it
It's
seems
because
faster.
it's because you're so desperate
To
for
move.
movement
Yeah.
that you're willing to accept upward as that extra movement.
Which really, when you think about it, unless the game is actually moving you faster, which I don't think it is,
It's not.
you're going a longer distance.
And it'll get you there at exactly the same speed.
Yeah.
Because you jump forward at the same rate that you walk, I believe, in Halo.
Okay. If you do, then it doesn't matter. But
It doesn't matter. It doesn't get you there a second faster
if you're
or
jumping,
slower.
you're technically traveling a longer distance. So it
But
doesn't
you're
even
just
make any
desperate.
sense.
You're desperate for moving faster. And that's why 9 times out of 10 in the campaign, even if armor lock is the most useful ability in the world, even if they're like, you have to have armor lock here, I'm keeping sprint. Because I just can't bear to take any longer in these games. It's unbearable. And I've been saying this for years. Like, they just need a run. Why wouldn't you just add a run? I'm always intrigued at when an obvious addition that everybody wants is like staring somebody in the face and they just choose not to do it.
Yeah.
Or when they ignore something that works.
Yeah. I run into that a lot with Battlefield.
With Battlefield,
3
yeah.
and 4.
Like, just going back to Battlefield, matchmaking. Matchmaking in Halo is perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect. It's so simple. Just do that. Yet, every iteration of Battlefield, from Bad Company 2 to 3 to 4, is worse than the previous one. They were like, oh, you know what people liked? Grouping up and playing in the same game? Let's get rid of that.
It's like, well, that was obviously too difficult for people because we suck. So we'll just get rid of that completely, and they could just hope they get in the same game together. Hope they're on the same team. Hope
Which
they can
never
both get into
happens.
the same map.
Never happens.
We're going to have a Battlefield episode. I've said that already multiple times, but we're really going to need to do that.
We'll line it up. That'll be in a better
I'm going
month.
to have like 12 pages of notes versus like the 3 bullet points I had for each Halo game. You know what they should have done? They should have done this.
We'll send it to Activision. Is it Activision? It's EA.
EA.
It's EA. It stinks either way.
Poopy boots.
It's poopy boots. So I think that's... just briefly touching on Firefight. Firefight is sort of like Halo's version of Horde mode from Gears of War. You get supplies, waves of enemies come at you, their objectives, you just sort of survive. I'm not a big Horde mode fan. Are you, in general?
It's kind of boring.
I'm always bored. The only reason we played a lot of Firefight was going back to the challenges.
Yeah.
It was very easy to craft the right situations to meet the challenges with Firefight.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you needed headshots, you could put Firefight on grunts with battle rifles, and you could just one shot 500 grunts, and you'd be done with it in 5 minutes. You get your credits and move on.
Yeah.
But as a whole, Firefight, very boring, very repetitive, same stuff over and over and over.
Pretty much.
So that was Reach.
We played a lot of the multiplayer for Reach.
We played a lot. I would say Reach is probably the Halo I played the most of.
That was our Halo multiplayer game. I think we played that pretty much exclusively until we got Battlefield 3, right?
Yeah.
And then we dropped it pretty quick at that point.
Yeah, because
That's what we do. We transition.
we do. We just go from one to the next.